Iran has rejected the US claim that the peace deal between the two countries had been finalized and was waiting for the approval of the deranged occupant of the White House. Meanwhile, the Iranian military has just said that it destroyed another hostile American drone near Qasem Island. The UN Special Rapporteur on Sexual Violence in Conflict Zone has spoken about the rationale behind including the terrorist settler colony of Israel to the list of countries that use sexual violence as a weapon of war. This will be the broad focus of my video tonight. Also in this video, Al Jazeera journalist Josh Rushing humiliates the US in its own backyard after winning the Emmy Award for brave reporting of the Gaza genocide. So please stay tuned. The Iranian military has once again claimed to have destroyed another hostile American drone near the Qasem Island, which is the primary platform for Iran's naval power in the Strait of Hormuz. This clearly shows that whilst the US is claiming to hold negotiations for a peace deal in good faith, its military is busy backstabbing Iran by routinely trying to launch strikes on Iranian facilities. And yet, the Iranians think they can secure a durable peace deal with these bunch of liars. This despite the fact that Iran today exposed the lies of the Donald Trump regime by rejecting his claims that the deal had been finalized between the two countries. Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi, according to Iran's press TV, said that the final deal depends on US abandoning excessive demands and contradictory stances. Elsewhere, Al Jazeera reported, quoting an Iranian official source, as saying that nothing could be described as finalized with a team that has no fixed professional or moral frame, is whimsical, and changes its demands constantly. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baqir Qalibaf wrote, and I quote, "Number one, we seize concessions not through dialogue but with missiles. In negotiations, we merely make them understand. Number two, we have no trust in guarantees or words, only actions are the measure. No action will be taken before the other side acts. Number three, the winner of the agreement is the one who is better prepared for war from the day after." End quote. Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi held talks with his Omani counterpart today. Sharing his photo with Badr al-Busaidi, Araghchi wrote, and I quote, "In very productive call with Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi, expressed Iran's solidarity with Oman in face of any threat. We discussed Hormuz and its future administration in line with our sovereign responsibilities and international law. We welcome consultation with all neighboring states." End quote. Trump has been holding high-level meetings with members of his cabinet and the military chiefs, but this hasn't stopped American lawmakers and experts from criticizing the Israeli lapdog from the White House over his surrender to Iran. Listen to Congressman Seth Moulton on CNN as he calls the deal with Iran a surrender document.
Do you believe that this agreement, this MOU, would be a breakthrough?
Let's just be clear, Kate. This is not a deal. It's a surrender document. And Trump, who started this war with no plan to win it, no plan to end it, and demanded Iran's unconditional surrender, now seems to be negotiating America's unconditional surrender to Iran. This is a loss across the board.
Another military analyst on CNN said that there was nothing called close to deal.
Is CNN's global affairs analyst and the former Middle East coordinator for the National Security Council, Brett McGurk. Brett, when you hear this, obviously Barack makes a good point. Recent history has shown sometimes they've gotten close, it hasn't happened. What do you make of what you're hearing?
I think in diplomacy, and I've done a lot of that type of work, there's two distinct categories between there is a deal versus everything else. We're close, it's tentative, totally different categories. And in the final yards of a negotiation, negotiations fail in the last 5% or the last one or two issues. So until there's a deal, there's not a deal. So look, I have great respect for everybody doing this work. I really hope it succeeds to get that straight open. But we're still dealing with the Iranian regime, and it is still the regime. It is that ideological core that has to cross the Rubicon and say, we're ready to do this deal with the Americans and accept the key term that the Americans are demanding, that the Strait open status quo antebellum, as it was before the war. And the Iranians are still demanding in their public statements, in their state media, that the Strait of Hormuz is now their sovereign territory.
How can you trust the rogue regime of Trump to hold these negotiations in good faith when they are constantly trying to hurt the Iranian interests, both militarily and through financial thefts? Don't take my word for it. Watch how this disgraceful cabinet colleague of Trump, Scott Bessent, flaunts his daylight robbery as he reveals stealing $1 billion worth Iranian cryptocurrency. Watch his devilish laughter in this clip.
It's, oh, here, they have at it. So we've frozen Iranian bank accounts.
After they started getting bombed by Iran.
Yes, but it was a big strategic
mistake
failure on the financial side.
And you jumped right in.
And we jumped right in. And they've been very good partners. I believe that we have seized about $1 billion of their crypto. And
just outright seized it.
Just outright grabbed the wallets. Some of them may be like typing in right now and realize they might not have realized that their wallet had been grabbed. And we are working with our allies all over Europe to grab villas and houses and properties.
These bloodthirsty lunatics know they have messed up big time. Hence their desperate actions against Iran every single day. Watch what a die-hard supporter of the Gaza Holocaust, Jake Sullivan, says here. Let's not forget his own active participation in the slaughter of over 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza during his time as Biden's national security advisor.
Looked at the situation and said, the real option is a nuclear deal that is imperfect but fundamentally effective in preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And the reality is that has not changed since 2015 when that deal went into effect. An imperfect but fundamentally effective nuclear deal that requires constant enforcement and eventually will require follow-on diplomacy and agreements. That is the only viable way forward. That is true for Trump today as it was true for Obama more than a decade ago. Trump thought he could bomb his way out of that reality. He thought he could blockade his way out of that reality. He now has this new plan that he can swallow that reality only if he gets this massive normalization of all Arab and Muslim countries with Israel. That's not going to work either. It all just comes back to an imperfect but basically effective nuclear deal. And every day that Trump doesn't go for that deal is another day we all suffer. It's another day where America loses, where Iran gains, and it is just putting off, frankly, the inevitable. This is what is available, and this is what President Trump should take.
I said over 500,000 Palestinians being murdered by the rogue settler colony of Israel with the support of white supremacists from the US, Europe, Canada, the UK, and even Australia. Watch this short clip by British surgeon Dr. Nick Maynard authenticate this claim during his interview with Tucker Carlson.
The official figures from the Ministry of Health, recognized by the United Nations and indeed recognized by the Israeli military now, is about 76,000 killed by trauma alone. The Lancet Medical Journal, which has published brilliantly
76,000
just from trauma, the Lancet Medical Journal, which has published brilliantly, estimates, because there are many thousands of people buried under the rubble, including friends of mine, so they estimate with great authority, I think, that has underestimated it by about 50%. So there are probably 100,000 killed directly by trauma, but that excludes the excess deaths. So there are many, many people dying of excess deaths. Now, the Lancet estimates, again, Lancet estimated 18 months ago that figure was probably about 180,000 on top of the trauma deaths. There are other estimates, and of course these are difficult to be overly accurate, but there are some estimates that it's at least several 100,000. I heard one estimate saying it was over 500,000 excess deaths.
And the murderous race of Israelis aren't done yet. Despite having agreed for a ceasefire, they have yet to end their occupation of Gaza or allow the flow of basic aid into the territory. Instead, these human devils have continued to murder more Palestinians every day. This is what Hamas had agreed for when they readily signed the ceasefire deal last year. Now, bloodthirsty terrorist Netanyahu is talking about occupying the whole of Gaza, but there is absolute silence across the world. Even those Arab countries who had acted as mediators are quiet. Meanwhile, the UN Special Rapporteur, Pramila Patten, today explained the global body's rationale to include Israel in the list of countries that use sexual assaults as a weapon of war.
Two new state actors are listed. Firstly, the Israeli Armed and Security Forces, namely the Israel Defense Forces, Israel Prison Service, including the Qatar Special Forces, and the Police Counter-Terrorism Unit, Yamam, are listed on the basis of credible information indicating continued patterns of rape and other forms of sexual violence, with an increase in the number of verified cases this year. In last year's report covering 2024, this party was put on notice for potential listing by the Secretary General, owing to significant concerns regarding consistent denial of access for UN monitors and patterns of sexual violence documented by the UN. Since last year's notice, both the patterns of sexual violence and the denial of access have persisted. As a result, UN human rights monitors continue to face severe access constraints, which significantly impede their capacity to document cases in a timely manner. With regard to detainees, it has only been possible to verify cases after release. Obstructed access to Gaza, where many detainees have been released following the October 2025 agreement, further impedes their ability to document cases. In this challenging context, in 2025, the UN was able to verify 31 cases, primarily in detention settings, but also at checkpoints and during military operations, against 14 men, 7 women, 9 boys, and 1 girl from the Gaza Strip and the West Bank.
Not content with their campaign of murdering and raping Palestinians in Gaza and the occupied West Bank, this monstrous race has now intensified its bombing in Lebanon. This is the UNESCO World Heritage Site, the video that you're seeing on your screen right now, in the Lebanese city of Tyre, that Israelis used the American taxpayers' money to turn into a ghost town. This is how Israelis are using Christian Americans' taxpayers' money to slaughter Lebanese Christians. One of the arguments that Israeli savages use to justify their barbarity is that they were targeting Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. But watch this unusual reporting by London Sky News, demolishing the Israeli lies.
The Israeli military says Hezbollah fighters are hiding amongst civilian homes. But there's no evidence of any military activity here when we turn up with the first responders. There's palpable tension. Their job is seen as one of the most dangerous in South Lebanon right now. When they find any wounded, they move quickly. Every minute counts, and the risk to the crews grows with every second they remain on site.
Well, they've just pulled out at least 1 casualty. You've got to remember there's hardly anyone living here now. The city has completely emptied out. But there is a pattern of multiple strikes over the past few days. We've seen it just today.
But do not expect any honesty from the rogue BBC when it comes to exposing the crimes against humanity by Israeli thugs. Just see how the rogue BBC reported the illegal military transgression by the rogue settler colony in Lebanon. Its presenter said Israeli forces crossed the Litani River. Declassified journalist Hamza Yusuf wrote when he shared this clip. The BBC is reporting Israel's illegal invasion of Lebanon, yet describes it like it's a sightseeing tour.
Over the last few days, Dozens of people have been killed in Lebanon this week as Israel expands its offensive across the south of the country. Today, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israeli forces had crossed the Litani River, which had previously been seen as the northern boundary of Israel's offensive in Lebanon. He'd earlier announced an expansion of ground operations. Now, this comes as Hezbollah continued to fire drones towards northern Israel.
Israelis are emboldened to commit unspeakable war crimes and live stream their savagery to our mobile devices because of the support this apartheid entity enjoys amongst the American political class. This evil woman, Michelle Bachmann, used to be a congresswoman. Watch how she calls Israeli pager attacks in Lebanon an act of God.
We've seen the most extraordinary acts of God to save Israel that have happened as a result of it.
Like what kind of thing?
Well, like I'll give you one example. We were in New York City, and the Lord gave a word. He gave me a word that we were to pray about explosions, that we were to pray that God would stop explosions that shouldn't happen and cause explosions that should happen. A very odd, specific word. Within 24 hours, the beepers and the pagers went off in Israel. And so we're not taking credit for it. You know, we're not that arrogant to take credit.
Yeah.
All we're doing is we're praying into things because God is sovereign and His will prevail.
She may be evil, but so is almost everyone in the American political class. Watch what Bernie Sanders had once told Al Jazeera journalist in 2017. And when you question their loyalty to America and humanity, you will be accused of anti-Semitism. And we thought Bernie Sanders was a liberal Zionist. A Zionist is a Zionist. There is nothing called liberal or hardliner.
It's increasingly evident that hopes for a two-state solution are almost dead. At the same time, polls among Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and Gaza are showing that they're increasingly in favor of a one-state solution with equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians alike and equal citizenship. Is that something you believe could happen, or is that something you support?
No, I don't. I mean, I think if that happens, then that would be the end of the state of Israel. And I support Israel's right to exist.
Do you think a two-state solution is still viable?
Yes, I think if there is the political will to make it happen and if there is good faith on both sides, I do think it's possible. And I think there has not been good faith, certainly on this Israeli government. And I have my doubts about parts of the Palestinian leadership as well.
I will now leave you with this fascinating victory speech by Al Jazeera journalist Josh Rushing, who exposed the American genocidal maniacs right in their own backyard when he spoke after winning an Emmy Award for his documentary Kids Under Fire. These are the real journalists, not the sellout evil creatures working for the likes of the BBC and other Western propaganda outlets.
I've got something to say. The irony of accepting an award for covering a genocide from the very country, or in the very country that enables that genocide to have happened and continued, should not be lost here. I want to dedicate this to the 11, thank you, Al Jazeera journalists, the 11 colleagues who have been killed by Israel since October 7th in Gaza, and to their 270 colleagues, journalists, who have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. I want to acknowledge the dozens of doctors who have given up rich, successful lives here to risk everything and go to Gaza and try to help and to realize that maybe the broadsword of the truth and bearing witness is stronger than the scalpel that they bring to the battlefield. And they came back and they bore witness in this peace, and because of them, the 4-year-old little girl, Mira, who had a bullet lodged in her brain in our film, is today in Mexico City receiving help with her mother, Isra, who lost her leg while we were filming this. These are dark days for journalism. We're either collapsing under the financial pressures or we're being bought by oligarchic forces that are co-opting the message. But I have to tell you, I have to implore you to keep up the good fight for the truth, the good fight for humanity, because there is no free people without a free press. So keep up the good fight. Thank you.
That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.